Hello, everybody. My name is Ray. Welcome to the Evangelical Dark Web. Today, we're going to be talking about how atheists can be false prophets as well, and that's going to be talking about James Lindsay and his false prophecy regarding Pride Month, and how James Lindsay is the new Hal Lindsay. Hal Lindsay is actually still alive, by the way. But James Lindsay is the new Hal Lindsay because he's been trying to lead the conservative, the anti-woke crowd in a direction that's very strategically unwise, trying to get the church to embrace homosexuality but reject transgenderism. But the two are connected. Like, it's illogical, which is why, most people who are homosexual also embrace the transgender stuff, because it's illogical not to. You've already said that certain depravities don't matter. So obviously, why would you stop there? Most people don't say my depravity and no further, like Dave Rubin. Most people don't do that. And that's why, this book is gay, or, all that stuff that was in the libraries at kids' schools were number one bestsellers in the gay category on Amazon. Like, they're not the fringe, the people opposing that. The people who want to separate transgenderism from homosexuality, they're actually the fringe in that movement. So that's what James Lindsay's been advocating, specifically in the Christian context. It will not work because God's church will prevail. And God's church most certainly prevailed this Pride Month. And that's what I want to highlight, is how victorious I think we are coming out of this month of June, which they label Pride Month. But this Pride Month felt a lot more deflated than the usual. Like, obviously, June 25th, there was two events, one in New York and one in Seattle, that got a lot of attention for all sorts of, debauched displays. But other than that, it was a lot tamer than, say, last year or the year before that. So this is good. We also see public opinion polling shifting in a more based direction. Hispanic evangelicals had a major shift in the right direction. That's the most relevant shift for us. And so did Gen Z and millennials. So those three groups had major shifts in a based direction. So public policy is actually going back in our favor a little bit. We could be seeing the height of the gay movement that could have been like 2 years ago or something. So they might have peaked, and we might make it. So there's some good news. I want to be optimistic, but also praise God, give God all the glory. And I want to let you know, if America does make it out, it's because of God. So we're going to talk about James Lindsay and false prophecy in a second. But first, I want to let you know, Evangelical Dark Web is a Christian news gathering and commentary ministry. You can support us over at evangelicaldarkweb.org/join. That's linked in the description below. And that's our Patreon-like system. Patreon censors content exactly like this, so we built our own. You can support it there. But the least you can do, like this video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and also check out that Evangelical Dark Web newsletter, completely free. Bypass big tech censorship in your inbox each and every day. So I want to give credit to the inspiration for this video, and that is Mark Gustav, who tweeted out, "I'm old enough to remember when James Lindsay was telling Christians we have to accept gays because there was going to be a false flag attack during Pride Month that the left was going to use to silence the Christian right." Now, there's a lot of things wrong with what James Lindsay was calling Pride Provocation Month, and the big thing is, he acts like we can just avoid a false flag attack. We really can't. That's not logical. You can't avoid a false flag attack. That's the purpose of a false flag. Anyway, the government has an agenda. They don't need to provoke us to commit their agenda for them. They'll just have their own feds do it for them. They do that. So James Lindsay's commentary was highly irrelevant, but we're going to listen to James Lindsay on the Glenn Beck program kind of explain what he thought was going to happen, and that didn't happen. So we're going to listen to this about 3 minutes, 4 minutes almost. So we're going to listen to this.
He says political warfare is coming during Pride Month, and
Hold on. We're going to listen to it on the right tab.
He says political warfare is coming during Pride Month, and I fear you're right, and I also fear that you're right about the warning to Christians. So, James, where do you want to start?
I think maybe we'll start kind of big picture. I think we're going to see what political warfare is, first of all, is when you use basically intelligence kind of tactics against a population to get them to act and behave in certain ways that you can then take advantage of for political purposes, to drive an agenda, to get the DOJ to crack down on something, whatever. So now we know what that is. I think we're going to see two attacks through Pride, using LGBTQ, as they call it, issues as the wedge. One of those will be to get our corporations that skew as American brands, Ford, Target, Bud Light, Americana brands, to take this up full blast so the conservatives will turn around and boycott and target these corporations, as we should and almost as we must. So we cut off ourselves at our own knees, and Marxists would like nothing better. But secondly, they will attack religious icons. They will go after children. We've seen this with the so-called Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, or whatever they call themselves in Los Angeles, going after very religious, offensive behaviors. And the goal will be they know that conservatives, and particularly a lot of conservative Christians, are getting angry, that they're getting desperate. It's almost like they've woke up a dragon, and they're going to feed the dragon and get them to do something stupid that will then turn around and get used against them, to whether it's investigate churches, shut down churches, come down on conservative Christianity just from a political perspective, so that they're the domestic terrorist hotbeds of the country, and then come around in a few months and offer some new fake state-approved Christian churches that'll fill in the space that gets left by bulldozing what exists now.
So you really think it'll go?
So we're not done the entire clip yet, but as I kind of already explained, like, the federal government could do its own false flag without our assistance. And the federal government does already have, feds infiltrating evangelical movements. That already is a thing. Like, how do you think the term evangelical dark web came about? I didn't create that. That was a Fed that created that term. I just co-opted it because it's a great name. But they already do this. They already could do this. They don't need us to do this. So it's a moot point. And the idea that he's bringing up, like, boycotts and stuff like that, well, the boycotts so far have largely been, we've started to see the success on them. For instance, Disney has, like, tanked 8 movies in a row at the box office. And that doesn't include Avatar, because they didn't produce Avatar. They didn't make Avatar. And there's, like, one other movie, I think The Menu. They also didn't make that. But they've lost, like, money on, like, 8 movies combined. A lot of money. So, and then Bud Light suffered major backlash. I don't know about Target. I don't know how successful that was. And even the, they mentioned the Dodgers game, their Pride Night. The Christian, or I'm going to use that in a broad sense, because it was largely Catholic vote, I think, that helmed the protest to that. I would actually call that a success. That was a lot more successful than it really should have been, or had any right to be, given the history of right-wing protests in the United States. They're largely non-existent. They're not successful at all, really. But that was kind of a success. So no Christians were provoked into doing anything stupid. But you definitely saw some fake Christians embrace the James Lindsay message of, let's embrace homosexuality, but say no to transgenderism, which is illogical.
I don't know why I'm surprised at this, but that is a huge statement to make, that they will shut down our churches?
Well, the federal government can only do so much with that, but they can start doing investigations. They can start digging in.
They're already doing
I
that.
wouldn't be surprised at all if there is some large Christian reaction that's not strategic, that's not thoughtful. I'm asking nobody, by the way, to sit on their hands and do nothing. This is a common misconception of what I'm saying. But if it's not strategic, if we're not thinking intelligently about how we approach this, there are already large dossiers written for the federal government saying that the cause of January 6th, which of course is their favorite thing to go to, was in fact not even MAGA or Trump. Believe it. How crazy is it that they say it's something other than Trump? It's Christian nationalism, which is a rising domestic terror threat. So if they can use some excuse to label churches as breeding grounds for domestic terrorism, you can bet the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Justice, and maybe the IRS are going to be cracking down and spying on churches. You can bet they're going to try to push something like a second Patriot Act that allows them to spy on churches and do whatever else that they have to do in order to try to limit that alleged threat of domestic terrorism. This is well linked already in the federal government. This isn't just some media narrative, although that's happening too, to give it legs in the population. This is something that they'll get the public to demand, that they're going to say white supremacy tied to Christian nationalism, white Christian nationalism is the biggest threat. It's a very serious concern, and they will use the unbelievable provocations that they're going to put forth in the next month or two for Pride to trigger Christians into giving them the reaction that they need so that they can justify these political moves against both Christians and conservatives, but also all Americans.
So in one survey...
So that's the end of the clip that I wanted to share. But as you can see, and this is evident on James Lindsay's Twitter, he wants to view everything as a provocation. Everything is, part of some master plan by the left. Like these people are showing their junk to toddlers for the political strategy to manipulate Christians into overreacting. Like he thinks that these people are playing a game. It's like, no, the only one playing a game here is Satan himself, because these people are serving his father, their father, the devil. So that's the game master. It's not the federal government. It's not even the left. It's Satan himself. So we got to recognize that as believers, but at the same time, Satan didn't win. He doesn't win in general, and it's not even a close fight. And James Lindsay has to view everything as a provocation in order to justify his hyperbolic fear-mongering, because that's what that clip was. The idea of a second Patriot Act to target Christian churches and stuff like that with this congressional composition, that's not going to happen. And what you have seen is a lot of people, and this is where I'm going to give Elon Musk some credit, the Overton window is shifting to allow more openly critical of homosexuality content to mainstream. Like, you've definitely seen that more on Twitter. That's one of the good things Elon Musk has done. He has actually upped the suspensions on the transgenderism issue. But one of the good things he's done is a lot of the algorithm changes that he's done. But that, in and of itself, is a good indication that, if something bad happens, you're not going to see people demand a Patriot Act 2.0 on the church, especially when the Patriot Act 1.0 is as unpopular as it's ever been. It's hyperbolic. It's like the same people who say that, the economy is going to crash, the economy is going to crash. Well, the economy did crash, and we're in a crashed economy, but it's not because of anything they said. It's because of all the lockdown, the CARES Act that Trump signed and the subsequent legislation that Joe Biden did. So that's why the economy is as bad as it is today, and then the Federal Reserve raising interest rates to 7%. That's why our economy sucks right now. It's not because of all those commercials that you see telling you to buy gold. So there's a lot of fear-mongering on the right, but we need to actually be more optimistic. We need to be the joyful warriors, because we won this Pride Month. We have seen public policy or public opinion polling shift in our favor. We have seen legislation and lawfare go in our favor. We had a Supreme Court ruling in our favor. You love to see that. Praise God for that. The victories will continue. And I think we're going to make it. So anyway, that's all I got to say about that for today. My name's Ray. This is the Evangelical Dark Web. And we will catch you on the next one.